welcome back to another episode of the Wrestling Shootout Pro. Hey, I'm your host, Survivor Opinion Bill Blanchard, along with my co-host and great friend and business partner and my brother to the end, Christian Fury. Fury, what's up, brother? Happy early Halloween to you, man.
Yeah,
How you
happy
doing?
early Halloween. It's a great time of year. You get that fall chill. You get the leaves changing colors, and you can just smell it in the air. It's just beautiful, man. Just beautiful time of year.
It's my favorite time of the year, man. Me and the wife and my kids, we just came back from the mountains, and the mountains just started changing the colors. You know, the leaves started changing colors up there. Very beautiful up there, man. Cool, good, cool, crisp weather, and well, I'm back home now. I got my grill going, got all lit up, got some ribeye steaks on the grill, and man, I'm ready to record some podcasts, man. Let's talk about some old school wrestling. It's been a little while since we recorded our last episode, man. We were talking about Ric Flair's last match on July 31st and what an incredible wrestling show it was. But I know we're gonna react to another episode of that night, man. But bottom line is, man, it's been too long, man. Good catching up with you, brother. How you been?
Yeah, I've been doing good. Been watching wrestling when I can. Schedule's been hectic, so mainly a lot of stuff I can focus on is maybe the stuff we hear on the dirt sheets and little YouTube channels and stuff like that keep us informed of what's going on currently. And I'm still stocked up on the old school stuff.
Well, we're going to get in some old school wrestling and a little bit later on our broadcast. You know, this time of the year, if you're a true old school wrestling fan like me and you are, Jay, we always like to talk about Halloween Havoc and some of the most ghoulish and scariest and craziest moments that take place in wrestling. But maybe not just in Halloween Havoc, maybe in No Mercy. October was an interesting year for the WWE. Even October was in your house. Witnessed the very first ever Hell in a Cell. And the same year, the same month, we finally saw an interesting cage match between Roddy Piper and Hollywood Hogan inside the steel cage. But before we get into the Halloween Havoc, brother, man, so many things have happened during this summer, professional wrestling. You want to talk about the dirt sheets. You want to talk about some of the craziest things that's going on. Let's talk about Ric Flair, 73 years old, who had his last match. Okay, Vince McMahon, not only in this sex scandal going on, this the so-called the money crap that's been going on, paying people off if you would, but the man himself, which I thought would never happen till the man died. Vincent Kennedy McMahon has retired from wrestling. And then in the same summer, CM Punk did what he did, and all I got to say is the scariest thing is what a difference a year makes. Everyone
What
was
a
praising this
difference.
man, loving this man, and look how he freaking respected the fans and the organization who brought his ass back in wrestling. My God, dude. Man, where the hell do we begin first? Before we get into Havoc, man, where the hell do we begin first? I mean, good Lord. Wow.
I just find it funny. A year ago, we were getting kicked off of freaking wrestling fan pages on Facebook and stuff like that because we were quote unquote bullying Phil Brooks. Personally,
Yeah.
I don't know Phil Brooks personally. I know him as CM Punk. We were talking about the character, and we have a right to our opinion. You know, now I wasn't saying anything about the man personally. Now it's one of those things that a year later, wow, did we call it or did we call
Man,
it?
I've been calling it for the last 15
Yeah,
years, man. I've never.
the one man that watches and follows wrestling, the one man that was anti CM Punk the entire time was you.
Yeah, that was me. It's one of those things. I will say this about CM Punk, and I don't want to make this episode about him, but it was never his in-ring work in the ring. You know what I mean? The guy did work hard in the ring. He did had some great matches. It's just how he carried himself outside of the ring. I mean, to me he was the biggest prick of all. I mean, I hear some of his interviews, I read some of his crap in the damn magazines and whatever. You draw your own conclusions about the guy. But the thing that really turned me off the most about Punk, I mean, toward the point where I don't even care to even watch the guy's in ring work. Is how he reacted in 2013. When he's going through some mental health crap, physical crap. I know you're beat up and injured on the side of the road. I mean, what I'm saying, Jay. But bottom line is, he chose to be in this business, okay? But you're in the ring with guys who have busted their ASS. You know what I mean? Put their lives on the lines for guys like you to even have a job, with the kind of money that you're making, to be in that position you're in, and you're going to disrespect guys like The Undertaker. I'm not gonna call Taker's real name. We all know who he is, but the dead man. Okay, you go sit there like, well, I'm not putting over this part timer. They're gonna complain about The Rock. One of the one of the biggest names of the Attitude Era, man, who really helped through the crowd with him and Stone Cold and DX, all of them. You know what I mean? You're gonna complain about putting this guy over. You're gonna complain how you didn't get your main event spot in WrestleMania, and then hell, dude, 420, 430 some odd days you held the freaking strap, okay? So then you're asked to put over The Rock, you're asked to put over The Undertaker, and then you're asked to put over, Brock Lesnar, another big name in this business, and you're going to be just running your mouth, complain. And because you didn't get your main event spot the following year, you want to take your ball and go home. Look, dude, I'm sorry, man. It is what it is. Again, I don't know Phil Brooks personally. He's probably a swell kind of guy, but I just don't think I don't think the man was mentally tough enough to handle the business, Jay. There, I said it.
He may not have been. All honestly, he may not have been. He's got all the ability in the world, but the poor attitude to go with it.
Yeah. I mean, the guy is getting out of the business. I mean, AEW, we all done read. They're going to buy him out of his contract. He only had to work 1 year. He'll get paid the rest of his money. Hey, man, look, he couldn't have like Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson still trying to go to every single independent show they can just so they can survive. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I mean, Punk, it can always say worse. At least you're getting paid to be home and be miserable. I mean, damn. But you don't hear Ricky Morton. You don't hear Ricky Morton bitching, whining, crying, and complaining. No, man, he loves his business. And he's still doing it to this day with his son right now. Hey, God bless the Rock and Roll Express. God bless the Rock and Roll Express, the true pioneers of professional wrestling. There, I said it, Jay. Take over.
Oh man, but we go from that to the scandals with Vincent Kennedy McMahon, Mr. VKM, the boss himself, retired. ... Something that we thought we'd thought we would see until the man passed away.
Until the man passed away. In all honesty, I just didn't.
But I think with all the scandals and everything like that, his hand was forced. That way the WWE could continue forward. And boy, did Triple H start turning heads.
Oh, yeah.
Already
he
brought
did.
back people that swore up and down they would never come back to WWE. Brought back the guys like Braun Strowman, brought back Brock Lesnar, brought back freaking Bray Wyatt. He's bringing change and bringing stuff. So it makes me curious on just how WWE is going to fare now. Granted,
it makes me want to have fun again. It makes you want to have fun again in wrestling.
Yeah, it makes somebody like me and you get to the point like, I'm intrigued. I want to watch. Because I know some people made a shit on the idea of Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar, but me and you didn't. That was always a dream match. Yeah, we had an encounter, but now we're having another encounter. So that's what I'm looking forward to coming up in World Wrestling Entertainment. And I can't wait to see what unfolds on this. But there's just so much change going on. And I know we had talked about some of the scandals and some of the stuff, but I do feel the need to acknowledge that, if you haven't heard by now, Kevin Nash lost his son.
Oh, God, yeah.
Regardless of how you feel about the man, losing a child is.
Oh, man.
I mean, I can't speak for experience. But I can only imagine. I can only imagine what that man's going through right now.
I'm pretty sure
he lost one of his best friends.
And I think he passed away on Scott Hall's birthday, too, of all things. And, I'm pretty sure guys like Ric Flair is going to reach out because, Flair lived it with his son, Reed, and I tell you, man, I've lost loved ones, they're no longer with me, but thank God I hope I never have to experience that pain. But, Kevin Nash, man, we love you. We're praying for you, brother. And again, just man, you're in our prayers. But Jay, I want to go back to Vince McMahon here. I know I was listening to Mick Foley's podcast, Foley is Pod, which you might can watch on ad-free shows or check him out on YouTube. Mick Foley, really, really, really has some interesting things to say about Vince McMahon, and I have to agree with it about. Vince McMahon is not a perfect man, but deep down he's a good man. And then, Jay, I can only talk about look, whatever was going on behind the scenes in his personal life, in his bedroom, and the things going on with his wife. Look, man, we all got demons, okay? We all got things we've all done wrong. And at the end of the day, he'll have to answer for all that. But, what about some of the great things Vince McMahon has done you don't get from Hollywood? You don't get from the NFL. You don't get from people wanting to, disrespect our American flag and disrespect our country, disrespect our service member. Vincent Kennedy McMahon, loved his country, loved the United States, took his company, took his talent, took his wrestlers, and brought some Americana over to Iraq and over to Afghanistan where we were, praising our military, giving us
things. I was
thanks.
there for the first show. I was there
yes,
for
you were.
Christmas in Baghdad, the very first show.
Very first one, man.
Mm-hmm.
And then hearing what Vince McMahon had to say, that all the media can go straight to where, because I'm here to praise your hard work and some of your great things you're doing. I mean, a lot of the soldiers and Marines, good Lord, 80-90% of us, we're all 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. We were all young, fresh out of high school, for God's sakes. Now we're in a freaking war zone trying to do this, do the, it seemed like, and something was actually impossible, and our minds were shattered. We come back to this, and you come back home, and nothing's never the same. But you know what? WWE embraced the troops and embraced us and provide great wrestling entertainment, if you would. So on that right there alone, Jay, I personally want to thank Vince McMahon for all the memories, not just our childhood, our teenage years, our 20s, and our 30s, and then hell, man, going through watching professional wrestling got me through some of the darkest days of my life dealing with PTSD. And in some kind of ways, and let's face it, man.
And
wrestling
thinking
was an
about it, man, I was just turned 22 years old when that happened. I turned 22 years old in Baghdad, Iraq. And shortly thereafter, there was a wrestling show. I didn't even think I was going to get a chance to go. They told me to go because they knew I was a huge wrestling fan. So I was able to get somebody to cover my work to be able to go and enjoy a show.
And you got a picture with Vince McMahon, did you not?
I've got a picture with Vince, got a picture with Stone Cold Steve Austin, got a picture with The Rock, or not The Rock, with Eddie Guerrero, with Chris Benoit.
Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, that's right.
Freaking Big Show. Hell, I saw John Cena, but I didn't get a chance to take a picture with him because he was surrounded by a crowd of people trying to battle rap, which, hey, it is what it is.
Let me ask you a question. I want you to tell the story. I want you to tell the story of Big Show and the Sergeant Major. I want to hear the story.
All right, so they were staying in a palace that was literally pretty much across the street from where we took up residence at. And so we got to go over there. The bus came over and dropped him off. Big Show was the last guy off the bus. And, currently he was the United States champion. Mm-hmm. And I started a small conversation with the Big Show. Next thing you know, Big Show was walking around with me talking. And in the middle of the conversation, I can't even remember what the Sergeant Major's name was. It's irrelevant now. But he come up, "How you doing, Big Show?" In the middle of the conversation, Big Show stopped talking, rolled his eyes, let out a little, "How you doing, Sergeant Major?"
Wow. It was almost like the Big Show was ready to put a choke slam on the Sergeant Major. He could almost hear. He was ready to chop the Sergeant Major.
Wow. I'm like, oh, Lord. And then after the Sergeant Major left, he said, "Come on, let's keep talking." Oh, okay. So
okay.
It was pretty cool. I probably had about a 45-minute conversation with the Big Show.
If you never done nothing else in wrestling, that'll be your legacy. You had 45 minutes with the Big Show.
That's right. And I had about 25 to 30 minutes conversation with Eddie Guerrero.
That's a blessing, man. Because considering we will lose Eddie a couple years later after
And
that
that
time.
was right before he won the heavyweight championship. Before he won the undisputed WWE championship. Yep.
I tell you what, since this is probably a good time to dive into some old school wrestling. You're talking about Eddie Guerrero. Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio Jr. was known for having one of the best matches of all time. Halloween Havoc,
Havoc.
1997.
Mask versus
for the
championship.
cruiserweight. But I don't think with the matches on the line for that one. Rey Mysterio's match on the line with Dean Malenko, I think. I could be wrong. I have to go research. I don't know. I know they had a match.
Because
the belt
Eddie was ripping at it and everything. The mask was on the line against the cruiserweight championship, Eddie Guerrero.
I have to look that up because I'm not calling bullshit in here, but I know they've had several of those matches. But I know the match was on the line because Ray got his match back from Dean Malenko, but he lost his cruiserweight strap with Dean, but he was able to keep his mess. That's how we have it 96. Well, again, another great matchup.
That's right.
But keep talking, man. What was your favorite parts of that match?
Just the chemistry those guys had. I mean, you felt it. You felt the energy that these guys put on the show. That they had this hatred for each other. But, all in all, you can tell it was well chemistry. They worked together very, very well. It was a very solid performance. Matter of fact, it was probably one of the matches, if not the match of the night.
It was the match of the night. It was definitely rated up there as one of the matches of the year, along with Shawn Michaels versus The Undertaker at the first ever Hell in the Cell. And I stand corrected. It was mask versus title. Eddie was trying to even pull his mask off during the freaking match, but
even ripped it apart.
Well, he tried. Ray was having a bodysuit on. He had a hard time ripping it apart. Yeah,
but no,
like what I was saying though. No, he was trying to pull off the stupid. Ray was in a bodysuit, whatnot, along with his freaking mask.
But he ripped open one of the eye holes.
Right. Yeah, he did do that. I'm sitting there glancing at that match right now and everything. But still, it was damn good match. This match took place before Eddie had his automobile accident, which happened a couple years later. And listen to Kurt Angle on his podcast. Kurt says Eddie really wasn't the same after the accident because Eddie would talk about it and complain his body was always in so much freaking pain, and it affected his style of matches he couldn't have before after that one. He was having like phenomenal. I mean, Eddie would still have great matches. You couldn't tell how bad he was hurting. But like as soon as he would get to the back, he'd be in pain. And then he did not want to get, stiff in the ring. And Kurt would tell a story how, him and Eddie got in a real life altercation fight one time because Eddie thought Kurt hit him too hard in the ring. Again, because Eddie's body was breaking down. And I can relate to that myself about being in the ring. When your body is breaking down and everything freaking hurts, you can't tell your opponent, hey, dude, freaking ease up or it's going to turn into a shoot. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But other kind of good matches that happen at Halloween Havoc, though, man. What match, in your opinion, Jay, stands out as your favorite match in the history of Halloween Havoc from '89 to 2000?
Man, as a kid growing up, man, that freaking steel cage. It was damn, I forgot what they called it now. But it was one where they had to put their opponent in the electric chair and throw the switch.
Oh, Chamber of Horrors match.
Chamber of Horrors match. That's what it was called.
As a kid, we all loved that match, but as an adult, everyone says it was probably the worst gimmicky kind of cage match in the history because you had an electric chair kind of cage inside. It had to get lowered down. You had to put one of the teams had to put their opponents in the electric chair and turn it up. And I think it was Sting that got to do it, the Butcher in there. But the talent they had in there, you had Sting, you had the Steiners, you had Dula, you had Cactus, you had Vader. A lot of tough guys that was involved in that Chamber of Horrors match, but. It was actually the opening match of that night of the Chamber of Horrors. It was definitely unique, 1991 of WCW. But my favorite cage match of WCW and Halloween Havoc was the first one. Halloween Havoc, 1989. I said this before on other shows of the podcast. But Sting and Ric Flair with Ole Anderson as their quote-unquote Terminator, if you would, whereas You had the managers will have the towel. And whoever throws in the towel, like I said, it was Sting, Ric Flair versus the Great Muta and Terry Funk. And they've been feuding since the Great American Bash. Well, really since Wrestle War '89 when Terry Funk attacked Flair, right? After Flair just
Right.
beat Steamboat for the 6-time World Heavyweight Championship, right? So then they had a match, the Great American Bash '89. Ric Flair one-on-one with Terry Funk. Talk about a bloodbath of a fight. But earlier that night, Stinger and Great Muta had a controversial World TV title matchup where no winner was really declared. I mean, Sting had his hand raised, but Muta thought he won and took off the freaking belt. So when the Great Muta and Gary Hart came out there and attacking Flair in his matchup with Terry Funk, Muta even sprayed that paint in Ric Flair's face, right? Then here the crowd just went berserk because you could hear Jim Ross screaming, "Here comes Sting! Here comes Sting!" And Sting gets to the ring. Dude, Sting and Flair and Muta Funk battled all over the place. So then they had a match at the Clash of Champions, right? Which Funk, for whatever reason, wasn't able to be there for medical reasons. So they had Dirty Dick Slater. So yeah, Dirty Dick Slater and Ric Flair, right? In a tag match with Sting and Flair. And talk about a back and forth battle that was live on TBS at the Clash of Champions. But here's where it gets scary, right? Funk did show up and attack both of them in the end. Terry Funk puts a plastic bag over Ric Flair's face, trying to suffocate him. Dude, there were kids at home crying, thinking Ric Flair was going to get killed. You had parents calling the TBS network saying, "This was so brutal," and yada, yada, yada. But you know what, though? It set it up for the Thunderdome cage match. The match itself was over 28 minutes long, real close to 30 minutes. But, when Ole Anderson freaking nailed Gary Hart from behind, which Bruno Sammartino was a special guest referee, Ole Anderson freaking nailed Gary Hart from the freaking behind right when Ric Flair had Terry Funk in a figure four leg lock, right? Sting tripping off the top rope with a Stinger splash. Kaboom. Man, the electricity that night it is probably to this day, it's in the top 5 of my favorite all-time wrestling matches. Definitely all-time wrestling feuds at that time. I was 10 years old, you know. I turned 10 years old that night, dude. It was May, October 28, 1989. That's the year Survivor Pain turned 10 years old. And, dude, I became a diehard wrestling fan ever since then because of Halloween Havoc 89, man. It don't get no bigger, no better than that, man.
Not at all.
What you think of that? Let me ask you a question. Did you ever see Halloween Havoc 1990 Terror Rules the Ring with the United States Championship on the line? Stan the Lariat Hansen, who was in Japan, real dominant wrestler in Japan, has a chance to come to WCW. And keep this in mind, 6 months prior to Halloween Havoc, the No Holds Barred movie came out, and Stan Hansen was in that freaking movie who gets laid out by Zeus, right? But here you see Stan Hansen attacking. He actually attacked Lex Luger at the Clash of the Champions prior to the Halloween Havoc pay-per-view, right? Which set up this freaking matchup between Hansen and Lex Luger. What did you think about that match, man?
That was a very brutal matchup.
Well, it was physical. Yeah, it's amazing to me what Lex Luger is a bodybuilder, if you would, powerhouse kind of a guy, versus someone who's just a real rugged, mean, tough dude. Stan Hansen, like I said, who was most people should know, most wrestling historians should know, and it's not because of the lariat clothesline. That lariat definitely knocked out a lot of people and some of the top Japanese superstars. But Stan Hansen had a reputation, right? He broke Bruno Sammartino's neck, And now, granted, it's kind of led you to believe, if you didn't see it, right, it's kind of led you to believe that he did it with the lariat. No, it didn't happen with the lariat. This is bystander that went bad, But he had a reputation of hurting people, you know what I mean? So what would have happened with Lex Luger, though? Luger put the hell of a fight, but he won it. Yes, Dan Spivey did show up, but he did not lay his hands on Luger. He tried to distract Luger, but Luger capitalized, took Stan Hansen down. But when Luger was getting back up and he was calling for his signature for the torture rack, and then out of nowhere, Hansen hit that lariat clothesline, boom, laid out the total package for the 1, for the 2, for the 3, ending Lex Luger's 550 some odd days of holding the United States Championship. Still pretty impressive, man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, brother, what matches you want to talk about? I'm sitting here kind of running my damn gums here about Halloween Havoc. What's your favorite matches of Halloween Havoc?
Well, we already talked about one, which was Eddie and Rey Mysterio match versus cruiserweight title.
Yeah.
That was a damn good match. Oh man, you guys talk about spin the wheel, make the deal.
Ah, yeah, spin the wheel, make the deal, spin the wheel, make the deal. I love that damn commercial they did. Especially the very first one, Sting versus Jake the Snake Roberts. You know, I got to be honest with you, brother. We all knew it was a coal miner's glove match, right?
Yeah.
Now, have you, as a wrestling fan and as a wrestling fan myself, that's followed the business for a long time, before Halloween Havoc 1992, and I'm going to ask you this, even after Halloween Havoc 1992, here in the United States at least, have you ever seen a coal miner's glove match?
No, not at all.
Never. I've never even heard of freaking once. I'm watching a freaking pay-per-view, a coal miner's glove match. What the hell is that? Jesse Ventura was doing color commentary trying to explain it. You freaking put a pole up, you got to climb the freaking pole and grab your gloves. You can really use on your opponent. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, the type of matches that were advertised on Spinning Wheel Make the Deal, a I Quit match, a No Holds Barred match, a Texas Death match, a strap match, a steel cage match. And I'm like, oh man, steel cage match. Yeah, Sting and Jake stick inside the cage, and we got a coal miner's glove match. No, I mean, Sting and Jake the Snake's credit, they still pulled it off, brother, but damn.
But you did not have to use the coal miner's glove to win the match.
Glove. No, you didn't. It was just an option of being there, you know?
So looking at it, you're like, okay, coal miner's glove match, cool. Of course, now, looking at it another way, it's like, shoot, I'm going to let my opponent go for it, and I'm going to capitalize on my opponent for trying to go after that damn thing.
I don't know, man.
But just think
I love
about
the finish,
all the stuff to have on a pole. You had coal miner's glove on a pole. And hell, fast forward years later, because, this guy was very brilliant in wrestling, I mean, you might know him as Vince Russo. You had that Viagra on a pole match years and years later.
Oh, my
it's like,
God.
Like, oh, really? It's like anything on a pole just kind of makes me kind of Judy Bagwell on a pole match. Really? She was actually.
What were they thinking?
Like, Lord have mercy. But hey, flag matches are pretty cool. You put them on different posts and everything like that. You get to your opponent's flag, you win. Or take down your opponent's flag. Those are pretty coal, and if done right. But a coal miner's glove. A coal miner's glove, though. I get to use it. Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay. It was almost like, I'm like, that was a letdown. It's like, oh man, all the other possibilities, a Texas death match, ooh, a steel cage match, oh, a leather strap match, ooh, coal miner's glove match.
Well, you said Texas death match, and brother, we got to talk about this. Oh, hold on a second. What did you think of the finish? Sting's got the coal miner glove. Got a coal miner glove. And here, Jesse Ventura said, yeah, but Jake's got the snake. And Sting actually hits Jake over behind. Boom. Rosebud 1, 2, 3. The snake bites Jake Roberts in the freaking face with a cobra. Dude, that's kind of horrifying in itself for Halloween Havoc. So, even though I didn't know what the hell our coal miner's glove match was, the ending, though, seeing Jake get bit by his own cobra in the freaking face, dude, that was horrifying for Halloween, man. That part, I got to give it credit, man. It kind of saved it, if you ask me, man.
Yeah, but the ending made it better, but still.
Yeah. But, brother, spin the wheel, make the deal. It happened one more time in 1993. The only other time they used it in professional wrestling in WCW. Cactus Jack versus Big Van Vader. Now, as far as Halloween Havoc matches goes, that particular match, and especially in 1993, it's up there, man. It's one of the greatest fights in wrestling. That feud that year between Vader and Cactus Jack. Man, I saw this from start to finish. Do you remember the first time it was a WCW Saturday night, or it could have been main event, or a Saturday or Sunday show? But I remember watching it at my grandfather's house in Saluda, South Carolina, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cactus Jack at this time, he had some fights with Sting. He was known for his, pinfalls, count anywhere with heavy metal band hammer. You know what I mean? So he was starting to make a name for himself, but still, I didn't give this guy no chance in hell against Vader. Vader to me seemed like this unstoppable monster, right? But all of a sudden, Cactus Jack with a big upset. Vader makes a mistake, it hurts his ribs by hitting the guardrail. And Cactus Jack was back in the ring and, oh my God, Cactus Jack just beat Big Van Vader by count out. So Cactus will always be able to say he defeated a world champion in professional wrestling when he beat Big Van Vader, at the time was the WWE World Champion. So Vader wants a rematch, right? They had the rematch. And dude, I don't remember if it was Harley Race or Vader who moved the freaking padding on the freaking floor. But when Vader powerbombed Cactus Jack and not floor, the back of his head hit that damn thing, dude, lights were gone. I mean, he was there, but not there. I mean, unbelievable, man. I remember grabbing my back of my head going, oh, good God. Oh, man. Then I love the storyline. Granted, as cheesy it might seem today, at the time, I'm a wrestling mark, bro. I was believing everything I freaking saw on TV.
Believing it. Yeah, he believed he was somebody else. He was.
He was homeless and a homeless man. Yeah, didn't recognize his wife or his son, and he was living out the streets. And then, and all of a sudden, Harley Race is getting a present on TV, open it up, and it's a cactus. Like, what the hell? And you knew it was Cactus Jack. And I remember I was watching Clash of Champions in August that year, right? It was Vader versus the British Bulldog for the world belt. Vader retained his title, and all of a sudden here comes Cactus running down the rampart and jumps on freaking Vader, man, and start going at him. And hearing Schiavone say, Cactus is back! Cactus Jack! And I was kind of like, yeah! I mean, this was the feud that made me a fan of Cactus Jack. I mean, really, where I thought he was a legitimate contender. And then you hear Big Van Vader, one-on-one with Cactus Jack, spin the wheel, make the deal, and it's a Texas death match. Wow. Dude, tell me you've seen that freaking fight, man.
Oh, it was a fight, all right.
You know what my favorite liner was in that match?
What's that?
When Jesse the Body Ventura says, man, I don't know who you can give the advantage in this freaking match. Cactus or Vader. Well, the only good news is they're both ugly to start with. Remember my uncle watching, he's just bust out the beautiful thing is they're both pretty ugly to start with, so can't get any much worse for them.
Probably made him spit out his drink that he was drinking.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yep. But damn, man, Vader hit the freaking moonsaw. Cactus, he even beating Vader down to those gimmick grades. You're seeing Vader coming out of the damn grade, all blooded up. And keep in mind, I just saw Night of the Living Dead, the 1990 version for the first time too. At that age, that same Halloween, and I was just kind of like, whoa, But it was cool how they did, though. I mean, if you pin your opponent, right? It's a 30-second rest period. Then you have 10 seconds to get back to their feet.
So really, you have 40 seconds to get up to your feet.
Yes, sir, you do. About 40 seconds, basically. But toward the end, though, Harley Race is some kind of taser. You know what I'm saying? Taser Cactus Jack behind his kneecap and fell back down to the ground. And Vader was still standing at about a 10 count. So, yeah, Vader won the freaking match, man. But, give all credit in the world to Mick Foley, man. He made Halloween Havoc special that night. I mean, he truly, honestly did. Golly, Cactus Jack and Vader, spin the wheel, make the deal. That match right there made it horrifying. But hey, give credit to Sting and Jake the Snake too, man. I mean, come on, his glove match, they got the match over.
They saved the match at the end. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they really did. Big fan of both those matches, man. But now, before we close up Halloween Havoc, dude, what did you really think? I know you were watching wrestling back then, 1994. Talk about contrast of years, right? You go from Cactus Jack and Vader to spinning wheel make the deal to the 15-foot-high steel cage against one of the biggest dream matches of the 1980s, if you would. The match that should have happened at WrestleMania 8, but WCW got it first. It was the rematch of Bash at Beast 94. I guess you could say the rematch of that Clash of Champions as well. But with that being said, finally, Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair for the WWE World Title inside the cage match with Mr. T, the special guest referee. Man, what did you feel the hype in that match, brother?
Oh yeah. See, I'm not gonna lie to you or try to sugarcoat anything. I was always a Hulkamaniac, and I've always had that dream match. And for one reason or another, you have both on WWF and never capitalized on it. But we got to see it in WCW, So it was one of those. I was thankful to see it, and all accounts, I was. Of course, like I said, I'm a Hulkamaniac through and through. So, of course, Hogan was going to be my guy I was going to pick to win that match. Nothing was better than Hogan, brother.
Never. No one was better. Absolutely. Oh, man. Well, to Ric Flair's credit, though, he gave it a hell of a match. It's what got Hulk Hogan to WWE. They had some great matches together. I knew it drew big business at Bash at the Beach. I did watch that pay-per-view, by the way. And in reality, though, Jay, I think the match that happened at Bash at the Beach 94 is probably my favorite out of the series of matches that they all had, because just you could really feel the electricity in the air. Not that I didn't feel it how they had it 94, but it was almost kind of like you kind of saw where it was going, you know what I mean? But then, the mysterious black guy comes in the ring with a mask, and you think it's a black scorpion because it makes you think it was a black scorpion, but it was Brother Brute-Eyed, and then it kind of starts another feud. Once again, another friend turns on Hulk Hogan, and their thing opponent is going to draw money. To me, that's what took the luster out of that freaking match. I was just kind of, I don't know. Yeah, I get it. They're trying to do something. It worked with the Macho Man. Maybe it worked with Brutus Beefcake. But how many times you get tired of seeing Hulk Hogan's best friends betraying him, and now they're the villain going against poor Hulk Hogan? I mean, let's talk about this just for a second here. I remember the first time I remember watching it was Paul Orndorff, 1987. Okay.
Yes.
Then the same year with Andre the Giant, his best friends in the Roddy Piper's pit. Then let's do the Macho Man. Ooh, yeah. Oh, hell, worked at 89, WrestleMania 5, right? Then let's don't stop there. Let's have a tugboat turn on him. You know what I mean? Come on. Good grief. And then let's try, if they worked in WWF, brother, we might work here in WCW, brother.
Yeah.
Let's try with Brother Brute-Eyed.
His brother Brute-Eyed. So hey, Brutus can make some money too, brother. Didn't work out.
Didn't really work out. And I don't know. I mean, look, man, I like the Barber Beefcake. He was a great wrestler. I enjoyed his matches, but I don't know. I wasn't really feeling the hype. That was a big letdown for me, man.
People turning on Hogan. You're just again,
mm-hmm. But it did just a credit for Vader to continue on. It gave Vader more reason. Hey, you're decking me. You go for all these easier challenges. You going after Brute-Eyed? Who did he beat? I'm the U.S. champion. I won the triangle match. I'm the number one contender. Yet you're running from me. To me, at the end of the day, I guess you could say it all made sense to me toward the end, 94, going into 95. I know we're getting off subject here, but, bottom line is, I just didn't like how they did it at first. It kind of took the luster out of Hogan and Flair. Ric Flair's now was forced to retire, and I don't know. But you know what, dummy? It is what it is. It's professional wrestling. You're supposed to watch it. You're going to love it. You're going to hate it. You're going to complain. But you know what, though? You're going to talk about it.
We going to have to talk about this one, too.
Sure.
The only time I saw monster trucks go at it on a pay-per-view, Halloween Havoc. The Giant.
Seen it since.
The Giant and Hulk Hogan.
Oh, my gosh. Now, I know Paul White likes to forget about that match, but at the time as a kid, I think I was my freshman year in high school when that Halloween Havoc came out. The monster truck thing was exciting, no doubt in my mind. I mean, back and forth, whether it was gimmick or not gimmick, hell, I don't really care. I was enjoying the show, right? And hey, Hulk Hogan's truck did prevail. He did beat the Giant's truck. But what about the whole angle where Hulk Hogan knocks the Giant off the freaking roof? Look, damn, it. Help. Somebody said that was cheesy, but you know something? No, I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. I don't give a damn what Bruce Pritchard says or what JR says or Tony Schiavone or Bischoff, and everybody had that opinion for that particular angle. Because if you watch the Royal Rumble 1994, this whole thing about the spirit of the Undertaker leaves the casket and all the freaking fog in the shape of the Undertaker. Look, dude, that was cool. Theatrics, right? But
Yeah.
how WCW did it on top of that room, to me, that looked legitimately and real. And yeah, I bought a hook, line, and sinker.
And then
really
when the giant came out, it was like, he's unscathed. He don't even have a cut or anything.
And Bobby Heenan was so awesome. Look at him. He's superhuman. Oh, my God. And Hogan? Oh, Hogan. It was like, you're going to get your butt kicked, brother. Bobby Heenan. I mean, look, when I got my whole segment, you can hear Bobby the Brain Heenan saying, "Would someone please go down and tell us what's going on? Would somebody please?" And Tony Schiavone is really non-selling it, like, okay, whatever, no big deal. And Bobby Heenan's getting frustrated and yelling and fussing at him, and then, and then. You know why they're not saying it? Because it's bad. Because it's bad. Let me tell you something, Shivani. You don't even know about it right now, but me, you know how far me and his dad go, And I mean, I'm like, I'm gonna hit my freaking seat. I'm actually standing up, going around back and forth, pacing. I got a little tear eyes come out of my damn self. I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what the hell just freaking happened? Then Hulk
yeah,
Hogan,
what did I just see?
What did I just freaking see? And look at Hulk Hogan's face. Oh no, help, help! My dad, my uncle was just laughing his ass off because he knew it was a work. But at the time, I wasn't smartened up yet, brother. But all I know was I was sitting there like. Then you see Hulk Hogan walk out there with straight clothes, and what happened last night, brother? What happened on the rooftop, brother? Wasn't supposed to go down. I didn't want the giant to take a plunge, brother. And then here comes this music, and then here comes the freaking giant, dude. That was freaking awesome, man. I'm sorry, that was freaking awesome. And then
the double cross.
Oh, the double cross with Jimmy Hart. You didn't see that one coming. Luger, you kind of saw it coming,
Yeah.
But then the Yeti. The Yeti walks in the ring. The Giant's already got a Hulk Hogan, a bear hug. And here comes the Yeti from the outside of Hogan squeezing over. It looked like a whole. And that's why Paul White doesn't want to remember that.
The guy named the Yeti was dressed like the Mummy. And we'd only see the Yeti one other time, and that would be on World War III, and he looked like a freaking ninja.
Well, you know who he is in real life, right?
Mm-mm.
He was a guy who's a big dude that was in Raven's flock.
Oh, Big Reese?
Big Reese. That's who the Yeti was. There's Big Reese. Yep. Sue Russell's in the independently shows, too.
Huh.
But yep, that's the guy Big Bill Goldberg looked up one time. Guy was bigger than the Big Bill Reese. Yep, that's who the Yeti was. Yep, sure was. Sure was. Well, I know we went back and forth on Halloween Havoc, dude, but before we wrap up our freaking show, any final thoughts of this wonderful October Halloween Havoc, if you would, the spookiest times of professional wrestling? How do you want to leave this audience tonight?
That's a good question, brother. We've had so many spooky, horrifying things that happen. We had people getting bit in the face with a snake, getting electrocuted in a Thunderdome.
Chambers of Horrors, too.
And Chambers of Horrors. Freaking Big Van Vader freaking coming out of what appeared to be a grave. And
oh, yeah, here lies Vader, and Vader's coming out of the grave, man. That was priceless.
I mean, hey.
Well, I tell you, I tell you, there's another matchup. I think and I know it happened at Halloween Havoc 1990, and I thought both tag matches were tremendous. Is my final thoughts I want to leave, which was Halloween Havoc was also known not only having ghoulish matches but great wrestling matches too. And I know you mentioned Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, and we kind of briefly talked about Dean Malenko versus Rey Mysterio at Halloween Havoc 1996. But there were two tag matches that took place at Halloween Havoc 1990, and from a competitive standpoint, it turned into a complete brawl at the end. I'm talking about the Nasty Boys, Brian Knobbs, Jerry Sags, which I don't think gets enough credit as they if they deserve in professional wrestling, probably because Jerry Sachs had an injury years later. But this particular match right here, I truly believe put them on the map as a top tag team. As a matter of fact, it was after this match, they got hired by Vince McMahon and defeated the Hart Foundation a few months later at WrestleMania 7, right? But
Right.
they took on the Steiner brothers for the United States Tag Team Championship. And, dude, what a back and forth of a fight. I mean, say what you want, man, but that was during a time frame where it was the greatest time to be a tag team in the business because the tag team competition was unreal. I mean, the amount of teams you had. I mean, the Freebirds, you had Doom, the Samoan SWAT team, the Dynamic Dudes, briefly, I might add, the Rock and Roll Express, and of course the Steiners, the Nasty Boys, And then the next match that happened on the same card, I know it ended in a draw, double count out, if you would, whatever, but it was still a great matchup. The Horsemen, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson versus Doom. Two heel teams, right? Doesn't happen very, very often. And you can say what you want. Baby faces versus baby face doesn't draw. Heel versus heel doesn't draw. Look, I don't give a damn. Bullshit aside. To me, that was a great fight. Great. I wanted to see that freaking fight. I was probably more hyped up for that match than any other match in the card that night. Ric Flair, Arn Anderson versus Ron Simmons and Butch Reed for the World Tag Team Championship. Dude, that was a great matchup. Great storyline too, about that.
Hey, brother. I gotta answer this call real quick.
Yeah, we gotta hang up here. Anyway, my mom started giving me the look, man. Well, that's all we got for today. Have a happy Halloween, happy holidays, and that's all we got. Until next time, wrestling fans. So long for now.